Hello everyone and welcome to the Star Fox Adventures playthrough. And this is going to be the most ambitious playthrough that I've attempted so far, so I hope you enjoy it. Let's begin. Now, Star Fox Adventures was released in 2002 for the GameCube, and this was actually the first Star Fox game released for it. It's a bit different to like the last game in the series, which is Star Fox 64. And this is mostly because it wasn't ever meant to be a Star Fox game. It was meant to be kind of like an original idea called Dinosaur Planet, and it was meant to feature this character that we're being introduced to now, called Krystal. Basically, Rare were developing this game. I think it was Rare. They were developing this game for Nintendo 64, and it's kind of muddled what happened. But from what I can gather, they had like a build for it. They already showed it off at E3, and Miyamoto basically minced in and said, "Oh, you know, that's a nice Fox character. We've got a Fox character," and he just kind of weirdly suggested that it become a Star Fox game. And I mean, I like Miyamoto, but I honestly don't think that was the best idea, because it's easily the most controversial game in the series, and it's kind of sharply divided people. There's some who absolutely love it for its ideas and everything, and there's some who absolutely fucking despise it. I'm kind of in the middle, honestly. Like it's a game that I enjoy personally, and I've got a lot of memories with it, but I can see why it would annoy people. And for me, it's just, I don't really consider it a Star Fox game. It's more of a Legend of Zelda game. Now, this is a really weird section of the game, because you can tell this is kind of, it feels like either this is part of a totally separate game, or it's been kind of like hashed in just to kind of have a tutorial and to kind of have an excuse to put Krystal in the game, really. I can't imagine what it would have been like for people. You know, playing Star Fox 64, waiting years for that sequel, and then you play this game and you open it up and there's dinosaurs, flying pirate ships, steampunk. You know, steampunk. This is a very steampunky kind of scenario, and like it's weird to me. It's not Star Fox, and like, while I enjoy the game, even I've got to admit, this is very strange. I don't really seem to. It's okay. The best way I can think about it is creating a scenario here, and with this opening, and it's just going to destroy that scenario in a couple of minutes. And this is like the only time we're going to use Krystal in the game. So like, her kind of appearance is a bit pointless, because you only use her for this section of the game. This first part, actually, it's the only time we're going to be using Krystal in the entire game. And that's something that I wish the game really would have like changed. Like, a lot of Star Fox fans don't like Krystal, and I'm one of the few that I'm kind of, okay, some of them like Krystal for certain reasons. That's not really for me to get into, but like, I think she had the potential to be an interesting character. As we saw there in her backstory, her planet's she's basically the victim of a genocide against her planet, and that could have been interesting, you know, survivor's guilt and all of that, if we had better writers. But like, it's just a shame, really. It could have been this is a game that could have been so much more. But while I enjoy what's on offer here, the potential that it could have been just a really great adventure game. Now it's just, well, as basically the major criticism of this game is that it's just a Legend of Zelda ripoff, and that animation there when she picks the key up, yeah, I can see that. And here we're going to get introduced to the big bad of the game, General Scales. I would say one of the worst villains I've ever seen in my life. He's so one-dimensionally evil, and he gets less screen time in this game proportionally to Hannibal Lecter in the fucking Silence of the Lambs. Hannibal Lecter is on screen for about 10 minutes and he's really effective. General Scales has about roughly the same screen time, and he's probably one of the worst villains ever. Oh god, this dinosaur language is so awkward. One of my favourite things about the language in this game, the fictional dinosaur language, is basically they'll they'll kind of like use the language like they are now, but every so often they'll use a word in English. Like you should hear in a second, he's gonna he'll basically like just like awkwardly kind of like talk, and then he'll just randomly say general scales. There you go. Oh my god, that's so awkward. I hate when they do that. If you're going to go to the trouble of making a whole fictional language, make fictional words up for those particular things. Do you think people aren't going to notice? Now, graphically, I think this game's really impressive, especially for 2002. I mean, it still looks nice to me now, but at 2002, this was pretty mind-blowing stuff, and it really did push the GameCube to its limits. We'll see some of the better, like, I mean, this is pretty nice graphically now, but when we get to stuff like Cape Claw and the Ocean Force Point Temple later in the game when we're playing as Fox, you'll see truly some really great graphics, and I think the water effects are really great. And the GameCube tended to have a lot of games that had really great water effects, like this, Super Mario Sunshine, stuff like that. Yeah, people like tend to prefer the PS2 and that, but I actually think out of the consoles, I actually think the GameCube was probably had the best graphics to me personally, though I might be speaking from a point of bias. Something I really don't like, because the way this game is broken up by design, when you start with Krystal, you're given a ton of information just thrown at you basically, and then when you turn to Fox, when you become Fox in a minute, you'll basically just kind of get the same information back, and this game suffers a lot from, as you're going to see here, because all of this stuff is new. You're going to get this little cutscene whenever you pick up a new item. It can get a little bit annoying, and later in the game, I'm going to try and cut as much of that out as possible. Like when we're Fox, and okay, there's a particular section in the game later where we pick 3 keys up, like within a short space of each other, and I'm going to cut that little like, yay, we got a key cutscene out basically, because it gets a little bit annoying. But this is a game like I'm not gonna like give my ultimate conclusion right now because I don't really see the point. But all I'm gonna say is it's a game worth kind of getting, just if you want like some mindless weekend fun. Basically, it is definitely that kind of game. Hey, I think people just tend to take it way too seriously and just see it as the death of Star Fox, basically. Now, this wasn't like the only Star Fox game that was going to come out. Before this, a few years before this, there were like ideas floating around for like a GameCube Star Fox, which were used in this game. But like, it was kind of it was basically one of those things where the ideas were so bare bones that what we see here, the very few times we use an R-Wing or do space combat, that was basically all they had, and the control and everything. So it was either, from what I can gather, it was either get this or get nothing. I think lighting is another point where the graphics engine was really great. How did he signal for help? He's a Triceratops. He's a dinosaur. As we'll see later, the dinosaurs are very primitive. So I do genuinely want to know how he got in contact with Krystal. I don't understand that. It's very weird, like, I mentioned earlier that Krystal is the kind of victim of genocide, but it's very strange to me how they kind of push aside a backstory they created for this character. It's like they went to the trouble of giving her that backstory just to go, oh, like, she's looking for answers about why her planet was destroyed, and then they literally just go, oh, she doesn't really seem to give a shit about that because she's doing stuff with Saria. Why? Why is she here? Why is she helping Saria? Is it? I know she's like nice and everything, as she said, she's kind, but like, her backstory does get pushed aside in the later games. In Assault, it's never mentioned, and in Command, she might as well have been a character created for that game. That fucking face. Now this is a concept that's going to kind of get used here, and it seems like it's going to be the main crux of the game. And again, because I said like because of how the game's broken up by design, we're going to have to reintroduce this concept later when we play as Fox. This is the Krazoa shrines. What you do basically is you go into this shrine, as is being shown here. You complete a challenge and you get a Krazoa spirit, which is kind of like the MacGuffins of the game. The best way I can think to compare them is like, we're going to be getting two sets of MacGuffins in this game. The Force Point gems, and which are basically, okay, I'm going to compare it to Legend of Zelda for a second because this game is pretty much asking for it. The stones are like the spiritual stones from Ocarina of Time, and the Krazoa spirits are kind of like the medallions. They're kind of like the secondary set of MacGuffins. But the Krazoa spirits are ridiculously easy to get. I mean, like, we're just going to get this one with Krystal and we're going to get the rest with Fox. They're ridiculously easy to get, apart from one, which is maybe the most frustration I've ever had with a video game. That's much later, though, so I'll talk about that when we come up to it. Now, each Krazoa spirit, you're given a certain task to do. Like, for this one, I think it's the Test of Knowledge. Or the Test of Observation. Now, the Test of Knowledge is the last one, actually. Each one, you're basically just doing a task that corresponds to whatever the task is called. Like for this one, Observation, we're playing a game that children could get. I'd like to say that these tests get harder as you go along, but they really don't. And that's another problem with Star Fox Adventures. It doesn't really get any harder than this. I mean, like, apart from that one thing I mentioned earlier, but that's only because that's dickish. It's not actually hard. It's just kind of the way it's designed is deliberately unfair in a way. But like, Star Fox Adventures just isn't hard in any way, shape, or form. In this playthrough, no joke, I died once in the entire playthrough, and that was because the reason I died was cheap. But I say it all the time. I would rather a game be fun and easy than hard and irritating. So I guess you can kind of forgive it for that. But it doesn't really. There's no reason to play this game again if you've already beaten it. And there's technical mishaps in this playthrough. I finished the game, and this is also the reason why it's been delayed. Every single part of the game was deleted off of my hard drive, so I had to record the entire thing again. And I got to tell you people, it took a lot out of me to play it through it again. The first time I was alright, just doing it at a nice pace, but the second time really, really took it out of me to do it, because I forgot, you know, the first time I played it, like the first time recording it, that was the first time I had played it for years, but like playing it again, its problems just got worse to me. I'll talk about these problems more as we get through the game, because it's more certain sections that have problems and certain parts of the game than any part of the actual gameplay. But like, it really did take a lot out of me to record it, and especially about halfway through the game I realised talking about it was going to get a little bit more difficult. So I apologise if some of my commentary seems a little bit stilted sometimes. But I'm going to try and write notes, I'm going to try and think of stuff to say, and ultimately I want to make, like I said, this is the most ambitious playthrough I've ever attempted. This is going to be a long one, people. I love the way that the inside of the Krystal Palace looks. I love this, all the architecture. I love the blueness of it all. Now this is a really strange element of the plot. This shadowy thing here, I'm not going to spoil who it is, because you'll see that later in one of the most retarded twists of all time. But it's really strange that Krystal actually knows who this is. I don't understand that. It's really, really odd to me. Again, it feels like they designed this first bit without a Star Fox being involved at all. But they kind of had to. They kind of had to like make Krystal be pushed into the path of this thing, just to involve Star Fox. It's very, very weird. I do really like the music here, though. Yes, people, the irony is not lost to me. Krystal has been trapped in a crystal. How can she breathe? Where's she going to get food from? And where's she going to get water from? Those are 3 questions that will never be answered. She doesn't really seem that perturbed by all of that, really. Oh, who is that? Is that Star Fox? Fuck yes, Star Fox is here. Now, that guitar music in the background is called Great Fox Rock, and if you can find it, listen to it. Grant Kirkhope is playing metal guitar. It's the cheesiest, most amazing thing I've ever heard in my life. It's ridiculously over the top. Love it.
Hey, Fox! Isn't this music getting on your nerves? I'm trying to work.
Peppy's old. He doesn't like rock music. And here he is, people. Fox McCloud in his weirdest design ever. Swear to fucking God, Slippy, keep breaking everything around her.
General Pepper here. I have a new mission for you, Fox. You are approaching Dinosaur Planet.
Now, if you watched my Farewell Beloved Falco review, which you totally should, it's amazing, you'll know that I said it's a bit kind of an inconsistency that in that manga they say they want to rescue it basically of their own accord. Star Fox want to rescue Dinosaur Planet of their own accord, but here General Pepper seems to give them the mission as if they weren't going to do it originally. But some people have kind of speculated that basically Pepper is approving the mission. He's saying, okay, you can do it and we'll pay you for it, basically, because if this planet blows up, you're going to save the Lilac system, so we'll pay you for it. And that's our mission. So Star Fox Adventures is officially a go. Next part. So see you next time in the Star Fox Adventures playthrough. See you later, guys.